Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Heaneys at the Movies.
Hey.
We're not sponsored by LaCroix, we just enjoy it. So we're going to sip on some while we talk about this next movie, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Want to tell us a little bit about it, Andrew?
Yeah, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is directed by J.J. Abrams. It is the 9th installment of the Skywalker saga, and that's not including Solo and Rogue One. And it stars Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver, and Carrie Fisher, and many more characters. Some we know, some we don't really know.
Yeah, they did add some new characters to this one, but overall, as we'll get into in much greater detail, a lot of the old favorites are back. So yeah, Andrew, going into this movie, what were some things that you were thinking? What was kind of your mindset as the movie started?
My mindset before the movie started was, well, I'm not really a fan of how in the trailers they don't really show, but you hear Palpatine's voice. Emperor Palpatine, who apparently was killed by Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi. I was not a fan of that, and I did not know how they would handle it properly. And I was a little worried, but I'm sure I would enjoy it. And when the movie started, I honestly thought, wow, I'm enjoying this a little bit. And then it went downhill from there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think for me, I was pretty disappointed in just the shakiness of Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker. Just didn't feel like they were connected at all, and I was worried. I was kind of skeptical that this movie would take it anywhere, but I saw that it was getting really good reviews from the fans themselves, so I figured that it was something that if I just came in as a Star Wars fan without a lot of expectations, I might be able to enjoy. And I didn't put a lot of pressure on it, because I know we've both really enjoyed watching the TV series The Mandalorian, and that's really just blown us away and made us really excited about Star Wars. So it was like, well, if this movie doesn't hit it for us, we know that we have that show to look forward to, as well as the new Obi-Wan series that's going to come out.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And so we can kind of, not put too much stock into this, and, after this I knew it would be done as well, which felt, I guess, like a relief.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say, overall impressions, without giving anything away, I felt like this movie is very catered to Star Wars fans. They do a lot to really call back to a lot of the old episodes that people love, and a lot of the themes and the music and the storylines and the plots points that you see and the beats are similar. And so I think one way you could frame that is, if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll enjoy it and you'll feel a connection to this movie. But I think another way you can turn that is that this movie kind of lacks originality. I didn't feel like it gave us anything new. And so if you were looking for something new or something to expand the Star Wars universe, I felt like this kind of came up short. But overall, I felt like the director, the actors, the performances, the music, a lot of the performances in the movie are well done. It's just the problem is where this movie really had no direction of where it wanted to go that was original. And it was a director trying to go back to what he did in the first movie and kind of trying to undo what happened in the second movie, rather than it feeling like 3 cohesive movies. And so that part made it a bit of a mess in some instances.
I completely agree with you, Sam. One thing I did like about the movie was, as you very briefly mentioned it, but the score by John Williams I thought was very, very good. A lot of it's very reminiscent of old Star Wars movies, or older Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
But I still think it was really well done. The visual effects were incredible.
Yeah.
There was,
definitely.
I don't know how much was practical and how much was not, but a lot of it looked like CGI. But still, that's not a bad thing sometimes. One thing I did really like were the 2 main leads. We will get into this a little bit more. I thought the 2 main leads, Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley, were incredible. Yeah. They were the best parts of the movie, if you ask me. Yeah. But overall, I actually did not like that much else about this movie. If I were going to rate it out of 10, I'd give it a 4, but that's very tentative. It's really close to a 5. Yeah. In fact, I don't think I'm going to see it again, but if I think more about it, I might bump it up to a 5, but for now it's a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a 5, maybe a 6 out of 10. It depends on what you want to compare it to. Because I think as a standalone movie, it's like a 6, but then when you take it into consideration of what the other Star Wars movies are, and what they've already done, and what the bar that they've set, I felt like this was below that, and so I would give it a 5. So yeah, without further ado, If you haven't seen the movie yet, I would recommend kind of turning the video off now, because we're just going to go through the plot. We'll try to not take 2 hours and 20 minutes, but we'll kind of break down different things that we noticed or stood out to us about the movie.
Right.
So yeah, why don't you get us? You said you enjoyed the start. What about it did you?
So I really liked the action scene in the opening with the Millennium Falcon just flying through this gigantic ship planet thing, and with Finn, Poe, Chewie, and 3PO, they all have fun.
Yeah.
And then you realize that the First Order has a spy. We'll get to that later. It was just, I really enjoyed it. The score was awesome. The sound design, as usual for Star Wars, was great. And I just had fun with it. And then after that, we get to Rey saying something cryptic while floating with a bunch of rocks on some planet with Leia training her, I think.
Yep.
And I did like these. I like these moments, and I was having a bit of fun with it. What about you?
Yeah, I thought it was cool to see Rey training, because I know a lot of that hasn't really happened for her yet, having someone who's serious.
Nope.
I kind of want to address it now. I felt like one of the best performances was Carrie Fisher.
Oh, yeah.
I think the directors, as a lot of critics have said, they were in a really tough spot, having somebody who means so much to the Star Wars fandom that has passed away, and so you can't bring back to do more films, and you want to do her justice. And you also want to figure out what her role is in this movie. Because I think they've always struggled with the balance of bringing back old characters and aging actors who, frankly, I felt like her performance in the first couple movies, you could tell that she hadn't acted in a while. Yeah, and I felt like for this one, they used her just the right amount. I felt like she was a good emotional leader to Rey and to the Resistance, and she was a great signal, and she had a really good presence to her. And they didn't really overdo her character, and it was her death made sense in the movie. It didn't feel like this jutted thing that they had to throw in there because of her death in real life. So that was good. Then immediately, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then immediately we go to the scene that was promoted around the world. Everyone could have seen it, of Kylo Ren going to planet to see Emperor Palpatine, which I think because of how poorly the last movie went, they had to broadcast this.
Yeah.
And they had to kind of get people excited about this movie. And I was relieved to see it happen so early on, because I was like, because then we could just get it over with. Because I personally hate seeing things from trailers that give away plots of the movie, or seeing like clips of movies before I've actually seen it.
I agree.
So it was good to get it done. This was one of the very obvious points where J.J. Abrams started something, which was Snoke. He liked where that was going. Rian Johnson said, you know what, Snoke sucks, let's throw him out, let's kill him. And so J.J. Abrams had to backtrack and said, you know what, the reason Snoke died was because he was just a creation of Palpatine. And so I thought that was the best they could do with it. It kind of made sense, and it was kind of cool how the sequence where he says every voice in your head and you hear Vader's voice.
And Snoke's.
Yeah, and you can see how Palpatine this whole time is trying to puppeteer Kylo Ren, and it makes sense why he turned. But it was just so obvious that it was a patch-up and not what he would have done if Rian hadn't killed Snoke.
Yeah, honestly, that's one thing I actually did not like about this movie. It was trying its very best to undo everything that happened in The Last Jedi. And I actually like The Last Jedi from a screenwriting and a technical standpoint. I mean, it's not great. I've seen it maybe twice, and I do enjoy it. But one thing I don't like is that they're catering to fans, but they're not doing it very well, in my opinion. That's why I do not like them resurrecting Palpatine. It undermines Darth Vader's sacrifice in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And some other things, like some lines that Luke says later, I thought they were lampshading what happened in Last Jedi with him. I thought that was... I didn't really like... I thought that felt very artificial to me. Yeah,
and then I felt like his performance was kind of archaic as Palpatine. It was very cliche, especially when he's just like a zombie. You can't really see the actor's performance come full circle. And then when he resurrects those like 100 Star Destroyers, it just felt very OP. And it was like, okay, like and you can kill every planet. Like it just felt like too much.
I agree with that.
And so it was like, well, why don't you just go take over the whole thing now? And they never showed his purpose for domination.
No.
Like,
he just wanted to take over the world.
Yeah, versus in The Mandalorian, a lot of the villains, you see their intentions. Werner Herzog's character talks about how he believes the Empire provides more peace and more stability and more structure to the world. So he generally believes in the ideologies of the Empire, versus this one, it felt like this final order that they're making was just to be bad.
I agree.
It felt like a trope. I don't know. And so that was kind of a knock for me. But yeah, then we go into kind of the adventuring and Rey trying to reconnect and find this planet because the Resistance knows that the Empire's around. So let's go to that scene next where they're on their quest.
So the quest with Rey, Chewie, Finn, Poe, and 3PO, when they go find this MacGuffin Wayfinder thingy. Yeah. It's called a Sith Wayfinder. I'm just calling it that for fun.
Yeah.
They go all around the galaxy. They meet Lando Calrissian out of nowhere.
That surprised me. So I'll give them a point for that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm not surprised he was back. A lot of people were asking where the heck he was since Force Awakens came out, actually. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I was among them. But his appearance in the film is out of nowhere. But it's harmless. And so they go through this desert planet that looks way too similar to Tatooine.
Yeah. Or Jakku.
Yeah, which also looks too similar to Tatooine. And so there's a kind of creative scene where they go inside this tunnel thing through quicksand, and we get this line from Finn that is never addressed again, where he says, "I have to say something to you, Rey." We never find out what it was.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like every 5 minutes, I'd be like, "What did Finn say to Rey?" And I know they left you with this thing just to leave you hanging, which, that could be a little fun thing for screenwriters to do. But I felt like for me it was distracting because I couldn't fully watch the movie because I would be thinking about when that was going to be said.
Yeah. And what makes it worse is that it won't be addressed again because this is apparently the last installment in this saga.
Yeah, but they're going to make more.
Yeah.
As long as people are buying them, we'll see.
That's definitely true.
Yeah, and then while we're down there, we see the second ever force healing on live action in the second ever week. We saw it a week ago with Baby Yoda, or I guess the child, whatever you're supposed to call it. And then here we go, Rey's force healing a big evil snake.
Yeah, that helps them after that.
Yeah. What do you think of her? We see two very strong powers from her, both the force healing and then the force lightning within about 10 minutes.
That blows up the ship.
Yeah. What did that make you think? What were your thoughts with that?
My thoughts, and they were unfortunately confirmed, like, oh no, they're gonna retcon that she's a nobody. Because, when you see the lightning come out of her hand and blow up the ship that she thinks Chewie is on, I'm like, oh no, I really hope she's not a descendant of Palpatine. Please no.
Yeah.
And I was right. Oh, that was a terrible retcon. She is Palpatine's granddaughter. That is a terrible idea.
Why do you think what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I like the twist that Rey's parents were nobodies in The Last Jedi. That was, I think that was done well. It's kind of inspiring actually that you can be really powerful and your parents can be nobodies. But then they oh no, your parents were nobodies, but Palpatine was your grandfather. Yeah. And the other problem I have is that it makes no sense. Why would anyone be with Palpatine? Why would anyone have children with Palpatine? That's like if Voldemort had a child.
Yeah, but he's the senator, remember? Like, it could have happened when he led the double life and he was the senator, the chancellor, because he had the respect of everybody. I mean, literally, the Jedi were trying to protect him. Yeah. That was what made him succeed, was that double life. In the same way that, that's what a lot of mobsters will be leaders in their community. Yeah.
It almost reminded me of in a fan fiction, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, where, spoilers for those who haven't read it, Voldemort has a kid. I found it as believable as that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was sitting next to Andrew in the theater, and when they said that you're Palpatine's granddaughter, he just said, "Oh, come on!" And
yes, I did.
That cracked me up because
that was so bad.
I felt like it was coming just because you see hints of it both in Force Awakens and Last Jedi, where she goes straight to the evil in The Last Jedi. And in The Force Awakens, there's way too many times that people were like whispering about her, or Leia and Han have heard of her or know who she is.
I don't remember.
Yeah. And I think that's a better way. It's kind of needed because there's a lot of unexplainable power that she has. Like where she's able to battle Kylo Ren right away, and she's very force sensitive, and she had these visions and dreams and all these things. I felt like that part of her story matched up with this, but at the same time, it was also, like Andrew said, it was a retcon of what had been kind of cemented, and it was not original.
No.
It's like everybody is a Palpatine or a Skywalker.
Or a Solo.
Yeah, and so, again, they try to appease the fans, but I think what the fans really crave is to be kind of twisted out of your seat, like the original series did.
Yeah.
No one expected Vader to be Luke's father. And then no one really, not a lot of people expected Leia to be Luke's twin sister.
Yeah.
And I think when those happened, those are what makes Star Wars great, was just the twists that made sense and were there all along, but you just didn't notice it. And with these, it felt like a lot of people thought it might happen, but just didn't really want it. And some people wanted it, and it just, kind of a mess.
I agree with that. Can we go to the part with Hux now? So, one huge problem with this movie that is absent in The Force Awakens, which is JJ's other movie, is that The Force Awakens, yes, it's a beat-for-beat repeat of A New Hope, but it's tonally different. So it feels different, like you're getting a different experience out of it.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have a great reason to watch it. That, and it's a genuinely fun movie.
Yeah.
Here, especially the ending of Rise of Skywalker, there's no difference between this and the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Tonally, beat for beat wise, it's all the same.
Yeah.
So I do not see any reason to watch this regarding it, as opposed to just Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I would say that if you enjoy the characters and you like what the actors are doing, and you're somebody who enjoys just sitting back and watching a Star Wars film, I think you might enjoy this, but I think you're right in that there's nothing this really gives you emotionally or payoff-wise that wasn't given in Episode 6. And Episode 6 was done better, and it's original. So the question is, this is just a worse, watered-down kind of rehash of that with just bigger effects, I would say. And yeah, and I think the biggest problem with this movie is the ways that, because it's a repeat of that, it undermines that, and it makes the movies before it have less weight, which is a little bit frustrating in some ways. And some stuff doesn't make sense, like when she just says that she's Rey Skywalker.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Not sure why that was a thing. Stuff happens, so yeah, I'd say all in all, like I said, the movie entertained me at parts. The performances were fine. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, where the production of everything I felt had high quality. But then the writing was just really in the toilet in some areas, and they just didn't know how to end it because they didn't start and end with a goal in mind. Whereas with the Mandalorian show, 8 episodes, but there's one guy at the top, Jon Favreau, who's orchestrating the whole thing, and you could tell that they kind of wrote episodes 1, 2, and 3, and 7 and 8 first. And so the filler isn't necessarily perfect, but they know where they wanted to start, and they knew where they wanted to end it.
That's like the Marvel universe, even though it's not over yet, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the exact same way. Only with Kevin Feige on top and all these different directors handling, like Taika Waititi, James Gunn, you get the idea. It just reminded me of, Mandalorian reminds me of that. This reminds me of the X-Men series, and not in a good way. There are 2 that are amazing, Logan and Days of Future Past, but yeah, I was wrong. I was unfortunately disappointed in this movie. It felt more like a conclusion that's like Dark Phoenix than it is like Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
So overall, I did not like this movie. It's not terrible. It's not as bad as Phantom Menace, and especially not as bad as Attack of the Clones. I would definitely rewatch this more quickly than those 2, but that might be about it.
Yeah, I really didn't. I wasn't a big fan of the Solo movie. I feel like it didn't really add anything. I think this adds a little more because it is some new stuff. But again, I think I'm okay with this movie being where it is, considering that The Mandalorian was done really well. I feel like Disney can look at the feedback from those 2 different entities and see what the fans want. And so in the future with things like the Kenobi series, or if we get a new original series, I think it can be of higher quality. And they kind of see that people love the original stuff and love the Skywalker stuff, but they don't want more of it. They want to leave it where it is, and let's just make better, new, original things. So yeah, that's probably all we have to say. Any last thoughts before we sign off?
Not really.
Okay. Well, that's probably to do it for us with this episode of Heaneys at the Movies. This is the end of my winter break, but we're going to hopefully link up soon in the future to make some more videos, so be on the lookout for that. If you like what you see, you can subscribe. Just kind of keep tabs on us with social media. We'll post about things. But yeah, and let us know if there's any specific movies or franchises you'd like us to review, because we like just sitting down and talking movies.
Yeah, we do.
So yeah, sign off. Take it easy.